You will have seen in the news about that awful crash in America where the ship has hit the bridge. And obviously there's going to be lots of legal fallout about that. And it's going to be quite complicated because maritime law, shipping law, there's all sorts of weird, obscure rules as to who the responsibility is with, what the limit of damage is, all that sort of thing. And it's not intuitive because it's arisen over hundreds of years of very complex litigation and case law. So to give you some context for future videos, I need to go back right to the beginning, and hopefully you'll find this interesting because it sets the groundwork for everything that is to come. So I need to take you back to the 1850s in America. At the time, most mass transportation was done by river. We had these huge river boats, and especially running up and down the Mississippi. That was the main north to south arterial route for delivering cargo. But Congress wanted to expand railways. They wanted a transcontinental railway, sort of running from east to west. And there are a number of alternative routes, and that will become significant shortly. But obviously the riverboat people weren't very happy about the railways coming in, not only to steal their trade, but also to radically shift the geography of the country, because it had always been a lot easier to travel north-south in America than east-west. And they recognised that, well, hang on, if easy east-west travel becomes available, there's all this land out there, people are just going to move there, and all our traditional trade routes will lose them. So the river people very much objected to the building of the railways. Now, to complicate matters, river traffic and river transport was wholly within the purview of the individual states. However, the railways, because they were transcontinental, they were under the purview of the federal government. So there were lots of clashes there. Now, a guy called Jefferson Davis, who was the Defence Secretary, he was a big proponent of expanding the railways for all sorts of reasons. I mean, not just least sort of, logistics, being able to move, vital supplies around the country quickly. And he actually favoured a northern route rather than a southern route for the railway. And again, that will become significant very shortly. So what actually happened? Well, they decided to build a bridge across the Mississippi at a place called Rock Island. Now, Davis tried to block that because Rock Island, because like I say, he didn't want that route, he wanted a different one. He tried to block that by saying, well, Rock Island belongs to the military because there used to be a fort there. However, this all went to court, and the court said, well, no, you've not used it militarily for ages. It's effectively been abandoned. It's up for public use. So they started building this bridge. There were all sorts of attempts to injunct it and to stop it being built, and it all became rather confusing because bridges, by definition, they cross rivers, and a lot of the time the state boundary was in the middle of the river. So there was one case where they succeeded in getting an injunction to have the bridge demolished at one half of the river, but not at the other half of the river. So obviously that's not very practical. But anyway, our story continues. The bridge did get built, much to the objections of the riverboat owners, who'd have to spend a lot of money having like folding funnels and all sorts of things. But the inevitable happened. On the 21st of April, 1856, a vessel, the Effie Hafton, collided with the bridge. A stove was knocked over in the collision. That set fire to the boat, and that also set fire to the bridge. And the bridge was burnt down, as well as the ship. So, as you can imagine, that went to court for whose fault was it. And the riverboat's argument was, you have put an obstruction in the middle of the river, this is all your fault. Apparently, while the bridge was burning down, all the other riverboat people, they had a big party, they all piled out into the river and they were all sort of tooting their horns, and they had, they just watched it burn. They were very happy about that. Although the Effie Hafton, that cost $50,000 in 1850. So, translate that into real money. I mean, I don't think this was necessarily somebody making a point by, haha, we'll just do this. I think you'd have used a slightly older ship if that was your plan. But this went to court as to whose fault it was. And the railway company, they instructed a young lawyer who'd been doing a lot of work for them, and he came down and he argued their case. Now, the case was actually heard by a jury. Now, this was a claim by the riverboat against the railway company. The jury ended up being deadlocked. There was a hung jury. So the judge declared that effectively, well, that was a mistrial. The railways took that as a sign that they had effectively won. This didn't go away though. There were loads more sort of cases on this, and it was the big tension between the individual states and the federal government. Eventually, however, Congress passed a rule saying, look, you can build bridges across rivers. And that is the situation today, and that's why that big bridge is over the river. So yeah, so that eventually was resolved in favour of bridge building people. Apparently the bridge ran until the 80s, but it became, because it was rebuilt, the Rock Island Bridge, but it became just a road traffic bridge. So yeah, so that was resolved, and states' rights never became an issue again in America, so that was good. But I thought I'd mention that because you can see the tension, and this still underlies a lot of the tension between, well, you're blocking the river traffic, that bridge is the hazard, what do you expect us to do? And this will inform a lot of the future cases about this. So I just thought I'd give you that. But there you go. And that young lawyer, he went on to represent the railways in all sorts of things, and he was very successful in basically getting bridges built. And that young lawyer's name, Abraham Lincoln. I wonder whatever happened to him. But there you go. Hope you found that vaguely useful, vaguely interesting. Like I say, this will become relevant to what's going to happen with the fallout from this, this bridge collapse the other day. So there you go. Where am I today? I'm actually at Kennel Vale again, the old gunpowder works. I was just trying to think of, I wanted a nice bridge just while I was talking about bridges, and I think that's quite a nice one. So I'll get out of the way and let you have a look at it.